Good evening. I'm going to bring everybody in straight from the start here, boys. I was trying to do maths there. If we carry the one, carry the goal difference, carry the back line, carry last year's goal tally, this year's goal tally, we still have a couple of points. We're still 100 points off the top of the league. If we go on an unbelievable run, we can do something, lads. But we are cat. How do we want to start this, boys? Chris, I'm going to get you in because I know your signal can be a little bit dodgy on the motorway, and I do apologise for everybody if this is class. It's kind of a, it's a repeat subject every week. It's like a dodgy leaving cert exam, or we're repeating the same drivel every week. But this is what we are at the minute, folks. This is where we've come. Chris, you're obviously in Bray tonight, not at the game, but we can talk about the goals. We can talk about, I mean, in fairness, well, not in fairness, were we expecting any different tonight? I don't suppose we were. You might have a little bit of, gung-ho attitude of maybe saying, right, can we just go out there and, almost kind of, Harpatoni, Ireland, Parc de France, Stade de France, kind of just go for it and go against with the grain. But yeah, we just never, it's one of those nights where we probably shouldn't be expecting any different, should we?
No, and when the team sheet came out and we were all confused of who the heck is going to be playing up front, it really I had that sinking feeling then at that stage.
Yeah.
That it could just be one of those nights. And you look at the first goal we can see tonight, and it's, dodgy deflection and that just sums our season up as well. Like it's another one. I suppose the one way to sum it all up is the call for maybe a change at the manager's level. It's only going to grow louder now after that result today. We're nearly finished a full round of fixtures and we're still without a victory. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough at this stage. We're just getting cut adrift. We're we still haven't scored at home. We've scored 3 goals, and all of them have been away from home so far this year. It's dire, absolutely dire.
Steph, I know you weren't watching tonight. You were listening on the LMFM, but Chris has hit the nail on the head. We can score. We've only scored away from home. We are now minus 12. I think we were saying, Chris, just before we come on, 12 goals for the season. The closest to us is draw, and they're minus 5. It's not even that we're lucky in games. We're just not. We're conceding a lot of goals. Like that's a 5-0, a 4-1. Probably could have been. I don't think Derry peppered the goals, but Michael Duffy said there's decent chances as well, and could have been 5, maybe 6. But we're just going through this routine now of, is it time to kind of maybe, like Sean had said there, decision has to be given. A lot of talk tonight of, there is no stick or twist anymore. Is there something now that has to be done for long-term kind of stability? I don't know, but or are we? Not will he get away with it, but because it's Derry in the Brandywell, in the Ryan McBride Brandywell, sorry, will they? Can we get another week out of it? We 2 games coming up next week, Pats and Bows. What? I'm lost for words on how far we've dropped. Look, I know it's only been a couple of days since our last game, but we're so far behind even middle of the table teams now at the minute, aren't we?
Yeah. Look, it's not even that you're clinging on to a bit of hope now at the minute. It's all just, like we said the last week and the previous weeks, it doesn't even look like we're going to score. Like, we score at the end then when we're 4-0 down. Like, fair play to Ryan, but the game's over, and like, it's just not that it's easy to score at that stage, but changes are made and stuff like that. We're not even creating. Like, Cullen was, according to Flano and Adrian, like, he was moving about looking for the ball, but the quality's just not there to give it into him. So it's hard to see a way out. It's hard to see how it's going to be, anything's going to be different without making a change now at this stage, because look, I don't know if Stevie can get anything out of these players now at this stage. it's hard to watch, and it's you know, we're totally deflated. We're going into games not even expecting to get it, and like the best we'd hope for was a 0-0 draw before the game when we were talking on Monday. So, you know, even when you look around, like at one stage, Drogheda was winning as well. A couple of times, so 1-0 up and 2-1 up, and they conceded a late equaliser. Like that goes in, and Shells don't score the equaliser at the end, and you know the gap's just bigger again. But it's already big enough as it is, and aside from a big change, you know, you're just looking at the same thing every week now at this stage.
Yeah, and you know, there's lots of kind of comments behind, you know, we go on to last season's players, and you know, but at the end of the day, like there's a squad there of any amount. There's, you know, these are all kind of up and coming young footballers looking to get it maybe ahead in the game, looking to put their name on something, looking to get the experience of playing. And maybe we've been guilty of maybe thinking that, or you know, they're coming in from coming in from League One, League Two, some coming in from Championship level, really. And Zach Johnson, the likes of, you know, made his debut. I didn't even realise he made his debut against United at 16 until the commentator said it tonight. But you know, has that been our downfall? Is that kind of, you know, Stevie mentioned last week, you know, the late takeover. You know, that's okay, but we have players who were at the club under contract last year who left. So that's, you know, the late takeover doesn't really, I don't know if that applies to that kind of situation. We're not really sure how far that goes, but is it just, are we the architects of our own downfall? The way the signings have gone, the players, there seems to be no, like even what Chris had said tonight, we've no recognised striker playing tonight. They've taken a chance with Hogan. Maybe Stevie's trying to change it up. I don't know, but it's seriously backfired. You know, are we now looking? Is he now kind of looking at saying, right, let's try and put square pegs in circle holes? We don't really seem to have any structure with it. It just seems to be, you know, we're guilty, and it happened during the season last year. Let's throw anybody out and see what sticks and what works. And we seen Robbie Mahan tonight. You know, I don't know if he had much of an impact on the game either. You know, like we're even talking. I even seen a comment that was very, very straightforward. A free kick that was taken earlier in the game, we couldn't even get that right in the setup for a free kick. We just seem to be doing really basic things wrong. And you know, I don't know if we're even talking about confidence now. It's just a lack of maybe just actual ability. You know, and maybe the way they've been set up in training. It just seems so. It's almost Neanderthal. It's almost kind of just mundane and boring, and you know, there's no plan B. There is no plan B, and I just don't see where we're going.
There's no plan A.
There's no plan A. Yeah,
there's no plan A at the minute. It looks like, and look, I don't know what the hell is going on, but like it's the simple things. Even in the, like you take a look at that first goal, like Austin Brink. I don't know. He doesn't match the run of McMullen. He lets it pass, and he's nearly pointing at the fullback to go and close him down. And it's like you're supposed to be a midfield or I don't know. Like if that's me, you either take the foul and let them, you know, try and cross from there, but you don't let someone run past you and then start pointing at your fullback to bail you out of trouble. You know, because it was a half-hour effort. And that's been generous to him. This fella's supposed to be mobile, and you know McMullen might be fast, but can at least put an effort in. We've seen a high-profile Premiership player getting criticised for his lack of work rate, and look, you can see it in some of the lads there. And I think the proof was in the pudding in that first goal. That was the clip I seen of the goal. Like it just stems from him not tracking the run from midfield.
Yeah, Chris, we're just on. Just make sure you're there, Chris. Chris, just on, you know, obviously you haven't seen the game tonight, but even just on social media tonight, there's an obvious sense that this, like, you know, there's a real discontent now. There's a real kind of, you know, there's a real anger now. There's a real kind of frustration. It's gone beyond frustration, I think. You know, we're now, what are we, 9 games in? Like you say, we're now at the first turn of the season. We're on the second round of games now, and we have no wins. We've 3 goals all away from home. You know, we scored tonight. Great finish from Ryan, but again, it's a simple long ball. There's no kind of, you know, you don't train for that kind of thing. That's a kind of a hit and hope almost. You know, we're minus 12 on goals. We're now 4 points behind Drogheda. we are, and like you said, Chris, we're going to be cut adrift. I mean, we've 2 games coming up, Pats and Pats, and then Bows on Monday night. Like, if we don't, even if we pick up 2 draws, the chances are draw are going to pick up points. We're going to be completely cut adrift here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If things don't change, if things stay.
The draws are no good now, is the thing, Ali.
Yeah.
Like, because you're playing catch up, you need to try to get maximum points. And how we've been playing at the moment, we look so fragile that as soon as we concede, we can be opened up very, very easily. And when that happens, the floodgates tend to open. We've seen it. It could have been that way against Galway. It was that way against Sligo, and now it was again tonight. And from, the highlights I've seen up on the YouTube from tonight, it just looked like Derry just kept wanting just to get on the edge of the box and have a shot, because there was a very, very good chance that if it's going on target, it could well be a goal, because we're just at 6s and 7s. We're not playing as a team at all. It's 11 individuals out there. No one, like, Steph's talking about Oosterbrink there. I think you could probably point the figure across the team over the past while as well, and to kind of say, like, are you playing as good as you can potentially play? And I'd say a few players would say no. So why is that the case then? If that is the truth, why are players underperforming? Why are we underperforming as a team? Why hasn't everything clicked? Stephen O'Donnell came out. It came out after our show at the Talca match. Saying that he was left this club in such a bad state, and it hasn't been run right from the top since. So is all that just coming back to bite us right now, that this is where we are?
Yeah,
I don't,
Steph, yeah. It's, we're at the stage, even doing this podcast, we're now, like, for me, I'm at the stage now where we're not even talking about the game anymore. The game, we're fast and quick going down a hill here of, the game's only ended, what are we talking, an hour ago? And, we can talk about the match if we want, but there's a fundamental problem now. There's something that has to be addressed very quickly. And it's something drastic. If Stephen, look, we don't want to see anybody lose their job, but if he's there in the job, that's probably a drastic move as well. And if he loses his job, that could be a drastic decision for the club. But I don't see the conversation surely has to happen at some stage, because we're now 9 games in, we're a third of the way through the season, or give or take. There's so. What I'm worried for is that the excuses that are going to come out after games are going to be the same. It's going to be repeat the same things. But at the end of the day, there's a squad there that, when you look at them, when you look at the players like Mahan, Durant, Ryan O'Kane, these players, Gullins on the bench. I know, look, he hasn't gotten going since the Tala match, really. He hasn't really put in a performance, in my opinion. But, you've Scott High, you've Robbie Benson. Zach Johnson's been a real, I know we had to have him an extra, but these players are good, they're good footballers. So are we looking at something like a drastic change in the management level? Do we have to now question, right, maybe now it's time for change? You hear names coming out already. It's been coming out for weeks. But now I think there really has to be a question asked. Like, we've kind of we haven't sat on the fence, but we've definitely given him the benefit of the doubt over the last couple of weeks. But I honestly don't think now we can stay the way we are. I think they have to kind of call this. They have to make a decision very, very quickly on this. And that's just my opinion. Look, I don't think there's any... I personally don't think you can look at it any longer than this. But for Stevie's sake, for the club's sake, I think it definitely has to be asked. Now, lads, you might have a different opinion. I don't know, but there's something drastically wrong, and the players won't be going anywhere. And unfortunately, it stops with the manager. There is no way around it. You can't cut the players. So somebody else has to come in and try and motivate these players, whether it be even a new coach, to help with what's there already. Maybe we can't afford to change anything. I don't know, but something's got to change very, very quickly. Like we've seen it with Pats last year. They made a massive decision with John Daly. Now, it's not working at the minute. They're not being fantastic, but last season they called it right and they got it right. So I think we need to go down that road.
they've turned the corner the last few weeks, and they've obviously beat Rovers tonight. So I think they might be up to fourth or third possibly. But yeah, look, it's we're looking at the bigger picture straight away, because it's like rinse and repeat every week after the show. We're talking about, we're not creating, one or two players look like they're not one or two players. Majority of the players look like they're playing well below what they could be capable of. The team performance is very poor. Like it's gone from the first week when we looked like we were really up for it against Rovers, and we were battling, we were closing down. The quality looked decent. There looked like, Scott High looked like he might be a very good player that night. You were really looking towards the top end of the table, and everything's quickly unraveled. Stevie came out fighting in his press conference after the Shells game about how we have to realise where we are, but are we the worst team in the league? Like two teams have come up, so it's, and then in the same interview, then he's saying he trusts the players, and they just have to translate what they're doing in training onto the pitch. But how much of that does he believe himself? Because it's not like, we've gone through a sticky 3 or 4 games now, or 8 games into it, and we're not creating goals. And if we're not creating goals or creating chances or scoring goals, we're gonna massively struggle. We've shipped another four goals tonight, which is only gonna ebb away any bit of confidence we had. As soon as we go behind in the game, we're nearly writing it off. Sometimes you just have to abandon your beliefs in the game and just get a result. Just stop the tide from turning. You know what I mean? Just stop the result. And sometimes you have to just pick up an ugly draw, or like sit in and try and nick something on the counter. Like Derry were on a very poor run. I don't think that I could be wrong here, but I don't think they had scored in 3 matches possibly. They did 0-0 against Shells. They definitely lost 1-0 to Galway. I'm not sure what the result was before that, but they were on a poor run, and they were really, really struggling. And there was talk of Higgins being under massive pressure with the budget they had and everything else. But I'm sure they were really looking forward to coming up against us. And as soon as the first goal went in, then it was like, well, here we go again. How much are they going to beat us by?
Yeah.
So look, we're in a really tough place, and it just seems like nothing's going to change now at the minute unless something really drastic. There's really a drastic change. I didn't think he was going to survive the Sligo game when we were 4-0 down at half time. I thought, at home to Sligo, who we considered to be one of the poorer teams in the league, I was just thinking he's not going to survive this, but it's sort of gone on, and we picked up a 0-0 against Waterford and a 0-0 at home to draw it. But that's all we've had to look forward to. We haven't scored in Oriel. There's nothing you can sort of grasp and say, maybe our luck's going to turn here, or this is a bright spark. It just seems totally doom and gloom at the minute.
Chris, if there was a comment there from Darren. Is it a thing? So what everybody is saying, not everybody, but the consensus that these players aren't good enough. But is that enough to buy Stephen more time because the players that he has at his disposal? I don't know whether that's. It'd be different to walk into the job this season with an already made squad. I suppose that's probably the easy way to put it. But these players have been brought in by him and whoever else has been involved in the recruitment of it. So, is there any hiding place on that angle?
Chris has gone hiding, I think.
Chris is gone, is he? Steph, I'll ask the same question to you then. So the players, basically, are the players, can you get away with that based on that the fact that he signed them? If I was going tomorrow, new manager going tomorrow, and the same players, and with the same run, you could see it because the players are already there. But I don't know if there's any hiding place now because these players have been recruited. Whether they're recruited late on, it doesn't really matter. They've been recruited and been trusted upon to play a certain way or play whatever style the manager wants to play, and it's not working. So, but is that a hiding? Is that an excuse for the management?
No, I don't. Look, you have to walk. You have to walk with what you've got. Like somebody has to be held accountable for taking the players into the football club.
Yeah.
So we're hearing stories that it's this person or that person, and it's not this person. So you don't know. But if you're in that management team, you have to take responsibility for it. Everyone knows the manager. The manager is the one that's heads on the chopping block. So if his players aren't performing for him, he has to find a way to do it, or bring the players in that's doing it. Like you'd nearly rather play a load of kids at that stage. Someone that's going to play for the jersey, dig in and try and get a result, because it just looks like it's just going one way at the minute. Doesn't seem like it's going to be turned around. Like you picked out one or two little bits where you're saying, they have a free kick, they can't even get that right. The set pieces against Drogheda were the exact same. You're struggling to create a chance of note. And again, like tonight, it's just rehashing over the same thing again. So look, whatever's going on the training ground isn't working at the minute. So it needs to change, because you do go through your bad spells, but when it keeps prolonging and you've the same form, you just really seriously have to look at it. And we've gone through the loan signings again. You're taking a chance. These are unproven players that are coming into senior football a lot of the time. And look, you do get your Louis McCarrys and you get your Zach Johnsons that actually work out, but there's been far too many loan signings that haven't worked out. So if you made a list of it, and I don't know what the percentage would be of they've done well for us. So look, the manager is always going to be the one that gets the flack if the team's not performing. And look, Stevie knows the position he's in, so he already knows the pressure he's under. And
I think you're right. Like the fact that it's one thing going on a bad run. If this was to happen maybe 15, 16 games into the season where you've had a decent start and then there's a bit of run, you can kind of say, right, well, they'll get it back on track. But because they've never gotten going, because this is what's going against the grain, and what's going against Stevie and the boys, because the players they've brought in, it's been a practically brand new squad. I mean, some players have hung on, but there seems to be no change in the structure of where they play, how they play, nothing going forward in the last third. And because they've gotten off to such a bad start, it just doesn't. Like, I'm looking at the table here at the corner of my eye. I'm not even the table, the teams. I don't think there's anybody there we beat. Nobody. I don't see us beating any team in that league at the minute, the way we're playing and the way they've been sent out to play. Maybe if we would have played Drogheda again, maybe we beat them. But and Alan Reynolds Bows now are going to get a bit of a soldier over the next couple of weeks. Like you say, Pats, we've got these two teams coming up. Pats have kind of, luckily they might have turned the corner over the last couple of weeks. It was a bit of a tough game. Galway, you know what you're going to get. I just don't see us beating anybody over the next couple of weeks, the way things are at the moment. So the question will still remain, can someone else come in? Or is it something that we need? Do we need a new manager to come in and maybe G up these players and get something else that maybe, because you can be guilty of staying at the same thing for too long and you might not see what's capable. It could be a positional change, could be anything, or dropping someone or playing someone. Like you say, the young fellas in the 19s, another manager come in and maybe see something a little bit different. It could be what it's needed. But I just don't see us getting anything from any games, in particular the next two matches, because they're back to back. I just think we're going to be such a bad spot this day next week. Not this day next week, Monday week, and the next 10 days, because I just don't see us getting anything from those two matches.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, you're looking around, like we've talked about it the last couple of weeks. You don't have your UCD or your Cork City from last year, where you're sort of thinking, we have them coming up. We'll pick up 3 points here, and it's the two teams that have come up have effectively been better than the two teams that went down last year. So, it's been a massive drop off, but like you said, we've had some amount of turnover of players. Players that have come in haven't shown that they're of the same quality as the players that have gone out.
Yeah.
The sort of players that have hung around have been the ones that sort of, they've been around a long time, and we sort of felt that they weren't at the peak of their powers.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of everything, really. But there's been nothing that you can point out that has really worked or has gone them well. Like, the difference between the opening night and how we were speaking and we were looking forward to the season, and how there was different players playing well, and everything just looked so rosy at that stage, but it's just unraveled, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day and we're just repeating ourselves week on week now. So there's a couple of comments coming in about micromanaging, throwing some 4-0 down and stuff like that, and that's not gonna help matters at all. So,
Chris, just before, if you can hear me there, just before you went for are you with us now before I start a question?
I am, yeah.
Good man. I didn't know if you'd stop for a sausage roll there and a cup of coffee on the way home at the Selby there or something. But I know we're going back a little bit for anybody who's listening, but I'd said the original question I asked was, we comment in, the players simply aren't good enough. But unfortunately for Skip, because the way the recruitment is, and these have brought these in, would you say that's a possible out or a possible hiding spot, that the players might not be up to the standard, but at the same time, he hasn't inherited this team. He signed them. So there's probably no hiding spot there for that kind of, that kind of idea, I suppose.
No, like there's probably no hiding spot for it, but you got to question how high up, I suppose, on the priority list were the players that we ended up getting.
Yeah.
Were these the original number one targets? Because like we knew previously, when he tried to sign the likes of Tommy Lonergan and stuff like that, he was too late. Was kind of outpriced for it when he went to Pats that time. With no owner in place, he has said on record that the majority of the Irish market was gone at that stage. So you have to look elsewhere. You have to take a gamble, I suppose, on lads from outside the league. And which is always okay when you're kind of feathering them around a team of tried and trusted League of Ireland players, and you're just bringing in maybe one or two.
Yeah.
But our problem is we had to bring in high volumes from players outside the league, and it does take a while to adjust. It does take a while to get up to that standard, and especially if these guys are coming in, for a lot of them, for their first taste of senior football as well. Playing in academies is one thing. Playing senior football in League of Ireland is another thing completely. And I think that's been part of the issue here. I think if there was an outstanding candidate for another manager to come in, I wonder, would Stephen have as long as he currently had in this role?
Yeah, that was kind of that was kind of my next question. Who would be, if there is anybody? Yeah.
I don't think there is an outstanding candidate. So are you going to then take a chance on a manager outside the league?
Yeah.
To get us out of this. Like, it's a hell of a predicament we put ourselves in. And I can see why persisting with Stephen O'Donnell makes sense at the moment, because what's the alternative? And at the moment, it's unknown what that alternative would be. So I think that's why, Steph mentioned earlier on, after the Sligo match, he wouldn't have been surprised if he had gone at that. And I think if there was an outstanding candidate, maybe he may not have survived that. But I'd be interested to see what the listeners actually, who they might suggest, because it just seemed to be back to Vinny Peart for a third time on Twitter earlier.
Yeah, and that seems to be the consensus. It's not the first time in the last couple of matches we've had the VP mentioned on the podcast. Yeah, like it is something that, I almost dare say it's careful what you wish for, really, is it? Like, you can say, look, and I think a change is needed. I do really think a change is needed now, or something has to give, whether it be in the backroom staff or something else coming into maybe, a kind of a motivational coach. I don't know what it is. I'm very wary of the fact, I don't want to go back to this because we had this conversation, I think, when Jim Magilton was here, lads, and I don't want to go down back down that road again, where this motivational speaker type thing comes in. But, and Frank Carroll
reminds me a lot of that, Gally.
It does, Craig. I was reading the comments there. It was almost carbon copy of some of the stuff we were reading back in the day. Yeah.
We were going to get a credible draw with Rovers or something, and then took an absolute tonking, 5-0 tonk something, to Pats or to Bows after. We're in that sort of quagmire all over again.
Yeah.
And I suppose at that time the owners thought it seemed fit to change the managers 3 times in the season. We started with Filippo that season, remember?
Good times. That was the Beart of the Townend podcast.
Yeah, from Filippo to Jim, and then to Vinny at the end. So it took us 3 managers that year just to, I suppose, stabilize the club back to get away from the relegation. Are we in for that roller coaster again this year? I certainly hope not.
Steph's got a cheeky grin on his face. I wonder if he got any ideas. Steph, if you're kind of, I was going to say if you're up there playing, you've been in that kind of cauldron before, you've been up there before, but if you're in that team, if you're part of that setup, what are you looking for? Is there not enough maybe man management? There's not enough motivation above, we've seen the team going in. I don't know, what was it last? I thought it was the last game. They've had a decent first half, and then they come out in the second half. Whatever's been said at halftime, they've been worse. So is he getting it wrong maybe in the way he speaks, or the way it's been just put across the players, or just as a whole package?
Look, it's impossible to know.
Yeah.
Unless you're actually in that dressing room, what's going on, or if you're at the training sessions or whatever. But I think you're referencing the Shells match where we looked like we'd been the better side without causing much trouble to their goal. We'd a shot on target from Archie Davis from wide right, but the second half, then you were sort of saying, Duff will probably rattle Shells at home and they'll probably pick up from there, and they did, and they got 2 goals and we got a late consolation. It was sort of that people will turn around and say, what happened at half time? Did the players just think, oh well, look, we'll get something out of this game because we had a half decent first half? I just feel that the quality of the players that's been brought in just hasn't been good enough. When you look at Stephen O'Donnell, he's gone and won a cup with Pats. He's come into us in his first season and finished joint second, with a brand new team. And then, if we've lost players from that first season, and then it's been the trend of us losing players, and I don't know if the quality's just there for us now at the minute, player wise, for us to lift it. And it doesn't seem like Stevie's he's not able to change it. He's not able to affect it like he would have done if he was on the pitch. If he can rally people around him, if he can go and score a goal or put in a tackle, I'm sure he'd love to be on the pitch himself and be able to affect it. But unfortunately, he's not. He's done well previously, but sometimes things change. He hasn't been backed. Like he said, he hasn't been backed himself, and you know, it's got to a stage where, you know, you have to. I don't know. I still feel for him because,
of course, yeah. And
he's in
it must be
he's in
nobody
that position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's in that position, and he's probably thinking, you know, everyone's against him, but the fans support the football club, and when you just see it unraveling the way it's gone, you know, there is going to be anger there. People say, "Oh, we've been spoiled the last couple of years and this and that," but you know, it's hard for the fans to go out and look at that week in, week out. It just feels like, you know, we're going out hoping for 0-0 draws. That's what I was hoping for tonight. I said at the end of the last show, look, it would be great if we got a 0-0 draw. Like, you know, that's how far we've fallen. That just shows me how we've gone from looking to challenge and, you know, maybe we'll win a cup, and, you know, the expectations been lowered and lowered and lowered, but we've got to the stage now where you're sort of saying, you know, going to away games and hoping we pick up a 0-0 draw because we can't score goals. Like, it's just gone to that stage. So, yeah, for me, look, I think I can't see Stevie turning around with this group of players. If he gets to the summer, and then he can change it. But look, it might be the ship might have sailed at that stage. The current trend we're going on, you know, we'll be relegated by that stage, or there'll just be no going back. So for me, I like, you're in the predicament, like Chris said. Who do you bring in? Maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, like, would you take Alan Reynolds in? Like, I don't know if he'd be the answer either, but it's hard to know. But just the way it's going for me, I think if we just persist with what we're doing, it's only the writing's on the wall for me, unfortunately.
I just see a message there from James McCrook. It's interesting just to read it. You know, like, he's obviously had the pro license with him. He didn't have a pro license at Pat, so, you know, when he got the job, he was at Dundalk, ironically. He'd had a match, and then Dave Mackey came in at Dundalk as well. Chris, you know, is that something, even, you know, now he's on the pro license, you know, he's doing the pro license, maybe that's something he felt he didn't need, maybe? Because I know Dave Mackey, he's up in the stands, he's kind of, I think, he's head of development now or something like that. Like, that's,
yeah,
you know, I know Steve
mentioned
last week that, yeah, like, you know, I know Stevie mentioned last week that, you know, he gave up a lot, you know, to take the Dundalk job, but the Dundalk backed him a lot as well. They brought in Dave Mackey, essentially paying 2 managers, you know, like, we the Dundalk have backed him, you know, as much as they can. But is that something maybe that's maybe crept in? Maybe, you know, he might need someone like that on the sideline with him, or is he maybe, and I'm sure Dave Mackey supporting him in any way he can, but is it something maybe, you know, that could, you know, as James put it, coincided with a downward spiral? Is that something that you could probably look at?
I'd say,
or should he be a coach to deal with this?
Yeah, well, I think he's probably too much of a proud man now. If you asked him, or you told him that Dave Mackey was going to come in and work with you again now, I don't think that would work right now.
Yeah.
If that had been the setup all along and Dave Mackey had stayed in that role, then yeah. But, you know, like, a lot of players would have always said that Dave Mackey was like a father figure to them when he was there in that first season. Like, we could be missing something like that. Maybe, you know, maybe Padge just isn't that same sort of a character to the players. I don't know. I'm not in around the training, I suppose, to know that. But it's, yeah, you could do it probably someone like Dave Mackey, who's just been around for so long and, you know, knows the club so well, maybe in and around the first team a bit more. But I think if you do anything like that, you'd be probably putting his nose at a joint.
Yeah.
And could that make a bad situation worse? I don't know.
Yeah, even if he was to bring in someone himself, I suppose you're kind of almost, you know, like you say, a proud coach, a proud man, he's probably thinking that's a backward step, you know, mentally maybe, or, you know, how it looks to other people.
It'd be totally undermining him.
I think so.
That's be totally undermining him if you brought someone like Dave Mackey, who's already in the underage setup, whatever, back in, it'd be basically telling Stevie, look, you're not doing a good enough job, so you need some help. So look, I can't see that working out. I can't see you bringing in another coach to come under Stevie. It just doesn't make sense. It'd be undermining as well. So I think it's only gonna stay the way it is, or for however long, or there's going to be a total change in it. I can't see anybody that's part of the management team staying if Stevie does go. Like you can't see anybody staying about. So it'll have to be a whole new background team for me. And if a manager does come in, like you always want, if you're a manager, you want to come in with your own people. Like if you're going to come in, you're inheriting coaches and whatever else. You know, it rarely works out.
Yeah, I think if, you know, unfortunately, like you said, there's just so many things going against what's happening at the minute. And, you know, we don't want to sit here every week and, you know, chastise things and, you know, people and management. And like, you know, we're not qualified to go up there and do anything different. But, I mean, there's only so long, you know, unfortunately, there's only so long fans can put up with it. As a bigger player and as good a career he's had with the club, you know, you can tell this has been, like you said, Steph, the Sligo game, the Galway game. You know, like, you know, when you look at someone like Declan Devine got 3 or 4 matches, did he? Did he even get that? I don't even remember how many games he got.
He got 3. It was 3.
Yeah, 3 games, you know, like, and and you know, like, and I'm not saying, like, we'd like to think we're a better setup than that. Well, you know, we would like to think that, but unfortunately now with the league, the teams that are in the league, we're nowhere near even that kind of level at the minute. And it's just, you know, we're trying to get some kind of, I don't mean the word positive, but we're trying to get some kind of twist on this that can kind of, is there an outcome of this other than, you know, a change? But I just don't see it. You know, a change in form, but I mean, they've now got a long week ahead of them, you know, preparing for, you know, what's a massive setup of games back to back, Pats and Bows. And I just don't see with the players that have been selected, the way they're playing. Nobody seems to know what kind of way we're playing out from the start. You know, I just see it so kind of lackluster, and, you know, and I'm sure, like Steph had said there's nobody more annoyed and emotional and probably distraught over than Stephen O'Donnell. You know, like, considering he's come back as club from, you know, he's club captain. He's probably had the best years of his career at Oriel Park. You know, without being too disrespectful to other clubs, but that he's played for. But, you know, there's probably nobody knows the crack more than Stephen. But, you know, you just have to wonder now how long. You know, unfortunately, it's a long week now for fans. You nearly want the game on Monday, you know, to kind of go again. But, you know, you've even got messages there. you're even looking, seeing messages there where people were hoping that they were well bet tonight, which you can understand, because a 1-0 might have covered over something else. You know, so we're at that situation now where there seems to be nothing but, you know, it's just raining down, isn't it? It's just really kind of, it's dire now at this stage, I think. I don't know how many more games we're going to go.
I think we've hit, like, obviously we've a problem up top where we don't have anyone fit who can play the striker role. So Stephen seems to be trying everything and anything to make it work. You know, when's the last time we had a consistent starting 11, or even a consistent back 4 or 5? It just reeks of desperation at times, that we're just trying everything. To be fair to Stephen, he is probably trying a lot, trying players in different positions, different combinations, hoping something is going to work for him and we're going to get a break on something. But I think we're going into a run of games now where we're probably playing a lot more teams up the opposite end of the table from us. Come here, everyone's on the opposite end of the table. What am I on about?
The first division teams on the opposite end of the table.
But, you know, like Waterford at home, Drogheda at home, that's, if you're looking for your first win, they were the fixtures we had to target. They're the ones we had to win. We weren't outplayed in them. We were in those games, and we just did not have that killer instinct to go on and win it, whether it was just a player to, you know, you end up reminiscing back, but, you know, looking at the slow pace in that Waterford and Drogheda games, it's a perfect Wardy sort of a game, where the game is just meandering into nothing, and he comes off and an injection of pace and intelligent play just can unlock something. I
I just don't see that person in the squad currently who can, if the game doesn't look like it's going anywhere, can come on and put a burst of energy into the team that gets you across the line. And I think that's a lot of that is probably experience with Wardy, his free kicks and everything were always good, and a good assistant from time to time as well. And I just think we're lacking in a lot of areas all at the one time. It's the perfect storm, and that's why we're in this situation.
I think that sums it up, Steph, doesn't it? I think that's just he has happened upon, and it's not happened upon. They've got themselves into this perfect storm of, there's just nothing There's just nothing happening. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, but we've had a bleed of recognised League of Ireland players from the club over the past 3-4 years. You look at most teams that are up at the opposite end now, the Derrys, Pats, Shells teams. There's always little, drops of former Dundalk players in and around there, except for us. We're left with just kind of only a handful of the old guard still remaining, but we never were able to capitalize and hold on to these and get the best out of them when we really needed them, which is now. Unfortunately, they're all at other clubs and scoring against us now.
Dickie Kelly didn't score, so. What's the attendance on the stream tonight, Mark? We're almost at the 350 mark there at one stage. We haven't peaked quite as last week, but I think people are getting sick of listening to us drivel the same stuff every week. There was a peak last week of 700 or something, but I don't think we get to them again unless we have a breaking news one of the nights. But yeah, we're very wary of the fact and thankful for people tuning in, because it must be absolutely just the same. As much as the same for us, lads, people tuning in every week, it must be just, right, stick these on. It's the same kind of, we could almost play last week's podcast. But
it's an open therapy session.
It is. That's what it is. This is what I was told this in the Lily White last week, or in the end of McGuill, that it is it's a bit of form of therapy for people. And look, Darren meaning to put it is draining, yeah. And there's no better people to drain you down than ourselves. We are very draining.
It's got to the stage where, the last couple of years, you were waiting to get on and talk about the match and talk about this goal and what about his performance, how the team played. But you're nearly dreading coming on and talking so negatively the whole time. Use Chris and me Captain Positivity, but Jesus, do you know what I mean? If anyone was listening in the last couple of weeks, they say want to check up on that guy every couple of days, make sure he's all right. But yeah, it's nearly you're sort of dreading coming on and talking about the games now, because it's just shocking. Yeah, good man, Flannel. Talk about the jumpers, maybe you get a bit of a highlight out of that. So yeah, we're struggling to pick man of the matches every week. So
yeah, Tony or Vinny's saving himself a fortune with pizzas.
Yeah. Vinny's delighted. Paying Stevie off.
So lads, look, just we don't want to keep. We did start late, so we don't want to keep everybody all night. But like Corey says there as well, a round of votes. If we got a round of votes off everybody, this could be an extra hour long podcast. But lads, what are we kind of, is it at the stage where we have to say, it was brought up a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was. I could be quoting somebody wrong. I don't know if it was Johnny Lynch that asked it, or was it Frank? I can't remember who put it up on the time, but it was a stick or twist situation. I could be getting the name wrong. I do apologize if the text didn't come from you. But are we in a stick or twist situation now? Is it only really twist now? I don't see how. I honestly don't see how we stick. As much as we wanted, I want him to keep the job, or not keep the job the way it's going, but be in the job. Like we were. I couldn't believe we signed him from Pats originally, but it's not that. I just think the whole, like Chris had said, it's a perfect storm of just it's not working. And for me, I'm on the twist brigade now, and I wasn't a couple of weeks ago, even 2 games ago. I wasn't even last week. I wasn't, but now I just think Chris, I thought you were going to dive off there without giving us a stick or twist. But yeah, where do we go from here? Is it a thing where we keep on with what it is because the financial reasons are constrict us? We can't do anything about that. But I just think from a personal point of view, for watching it, whether the players are right or wrong for the job, I think it needs a change of voice. I think it needs somebody else in there to kind of motivate these players in a different way, maybe a different formation. You could be very guilty of looking at the same thing for too long and not seeing, different angles of it. I don't know what you are thinking, boys, but just to kind of wrap up the show, I don't want to keep people here till midnight, but I think it's time to twist now. In my opinion, I think we need a change.
Yeah, I think for me it'd be make a change as well, because it was going on. It's nearly every week now. You're sort of saying in the back of your head, geez, I think this week, Stephen's in big trouble now. He might actually be gone this time. But yeah, look, I think it needs a change. There's been that many big defeats. We don't look like we're going to score. We haven't scored in Oriel. I know we keep going back to it. We haven't scored a goal in Oriel for the fans to cheer. And that's what 4 games in. 4 games in, we haven't scored a goal. So look, I think the writing's been on the wall a good while. We were all massively backing Stevie, and
absolutely, yeah.
We backed him to the hilt. I don't think anybody can say we didn't. But I think it's time to just get a fresh voice in there now, and hopefully that just changes something. Oliver, yeah.
That's right, you did. Yeah, they would. They absolutely would be
hard. Yeah. So
Chris has obviously dived off. Chris doesn't want to do this, but I out of just pure luck, he's had bad signal. But folks, I think it's it's not a resound. We're in no position to tell people what to be at, or no kind of influence on anybody. But look, unfortunately, I think it's just come to that kind of time where it's just it's been great to have that type of management, but not to say anything's going to happen, but. And Daisy, you're 100% right. That's the thing. Is the money there to get someone else in? Is the money there to kill a contract? I don't know if it is. It doesn't sound like it might be, but, people are shrewd operators. They're businessmen for a reason. They've gotten the money for a reason. So we don't really know. Big decisions have to be questioned. So big decisions have to be asked. Meetings have to be had. People need to be brought to kind of, you need to speak to the jury on this one and, be brought up to your higher powers and have a chat and see, See, and that's the thing, Paul, as well. It is a twist situation, in my opinion, but we don't know whether it'll happen or not. But folks, look, until next, and if anything happens during the week, we'll have a special episode podcast. Ideally, it shouldn't happen. We'd like to come on a special episode podcast where we've won a game and scored twice. But Steph, any final words just on before we hit the brakes on tonight's episode?
I don't know. I don't think we have any final words. We're struggling to come out with things to say that we haven't already said in the last couple of weeks. So I think the change is needed. Whether it does come for various reasons we're unsure of, but it's just looking a bit. We need something. The fans need something. So a goal, a win, or a total change over. We need something before we go insane.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to put it. Folks, thanks for tuning in. All 360 odd that we got in tonight at one stage. Thanks to our sponsors, Player Fit Gear, Dundalk Village for the main sponsorship. Vinny's Pizzeria. We're going to keep you busy next week, Vinny. Hopefully get some goals next week, whatever happens between now and then, because we're not giving away pizza tonight, so we'll save you the hassle. Steph, thanks for coming on. Chris, thanks for coming on. The signal on the motorway isn't great, I'm hearing. So look, until next week, lads, come on to time.